envelope or not, or whether they put their ID number on it, their driver's license number on it or not. Who cares? If you can tell from the vote what their intention to vote was, the law says that is a vote properly cast, plain and simple. You're here on the Midas Touch Network. That's a great thing. This is the fellowship that we're building together. Try to get the Midas Touch Network #1 on YouTube to 5 million subscribers today by hitting the free subscribe button. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, which we are doing in collaboration with the brothers of the Midas Touch Network. I curate the channel. Hit the subscribe button as well. And in our new Legal AF Substack, I'm going to put Judge Myers' 68-page opinion there so you can see it for yourself. Let's get to what just happened, and let me read to you from aspects of the decision. I think a couple of takeaways from this. One is how the Democrats and other groups rallied together and rallied behind Justice Riggs, not just because they wanted to see her take the seat, because they didn't want to see their votes thrown in the garbage can. And that's what Myers, I think, found supremely compelling in his ruling about changing. He talked about changing the rules of the game after the fact, more ways than we can imagine. Let me read to you from the decision. This case concerns, Judge Myers wrote, whether the federal Constitution permits a state to alter the rules of an election after the fact and apply those changes retroactively to only a select group of voters, and in doing so treat those voters differently than other similarly situated individuals. This case is also about whether a state may redefine its class of eligible voters but offer no process to those who may have been misclassified as ineligible. So in other words, Judge Myers is not willing to tolerate people that could have been misclassified and not have an ability to fix that and get their vote to count under the guise of eligibility versus non-eligibility. I mean, this has to do with driver's license numbers, photo IDs, voter registration cards. I mean, there's ways to match up signed ballots with the database, unless you're Judge Griffin and you want to toss $65,000. Now, he's already lost at several levels. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is where this case is going again, already stopped this process where the prior court had ruled at the state level that the North Carolina Election Board needed to have a cure process, allow these people, give them 30 days to come in with their IDs. Like, a lot of these are overseas. They're in the military. Send in a picture of their ID. Come up with a cure process. Come on. They already cast the ballot. Now they got to play twister, left on red, right on blue, elbow up, leg down in order to get their vote to count. And that's the part that pissed off Judge Myers. He said that you established the rules. This is Judge Myers now. You established the rules before the game. You don't change them after the game is done. This consolidated action, because there were a number of different parties that joined in this lawsuit, including military spouses who are about to have their votes tossed, and the North Carolina Democratic Party. Judge Myers said, this consolidated action concerns an attempt to change the rules of the game after it's been played. The court cannot countenance this strategy. Now think about it. If Griffin had ruled this way and effectively awarded the seat to Riggs, which I love the vocabulary he used, he says to dispossess Justice Riggs of her seat. In order to do that, I'd have to throw away votes. I'm not doing that. She already has the seat in his view. And in order to give it to the other challenger, I'd have to throw away votes, and I'm never going to bend over backwards to throw away votes to reward somebody for that kind of challenge. He says dispossessing Justice Riggs of a seat on the North Carolina Supreme Court that she won would constitute a substantial hardship. Giving effect to the will of the voters would result in no corresponding hardship for Judge Griffin. In other words, if I recognize the votes, she wins. If I throw away votes, you win. That's not a hardship to recognize the votes of people that have that have voted. Riggs, in a statement, and we've had her on the Midas Touch Network before, interviewed by my colleague and partner, Ben Meiselas, said, "Today we won. I'm proud to continue upholding the Constitution and the rule of law as North Carolina Supreme Court Justice." And just a shout out to Justice Riggs. The way she's the way she's comported herself, the way she's carried herself with such character and such grace and such ethics, shows why the people of North Carolina wanted to put her on the North Carolina Supreme Court. She earned it. And she's carrying herself like a justice, unlike the craven aspects of Jefferson Griffin. Boo. Who, if I were you, I would not run for office again, because you're going to be known as vote tosser. You're going to be known as, what was it on Game of Thrones, the Kingslayer? You're going to be known as the voter slayer. That's a bad place to be in a democracy. Now think what would happen if this Trump-appointed judge hadn't stepped forward and ruled in the right way. It would open the floodgates to challenges of voters, and they would be citing to this particular judge. It would just be the first chink in the armor that would be used. Now, what's going to happen next? The judge has stayed his order in order to give time for whoever wants to appeal. Yeah, it's going to be Jefferson Griffin, I'm sure, to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which should not be a friendly environment for him. Fourth Circuit, just to put it in context, is the same court that has been supporting Judge Zinnes in Maryland about her handling of the Abrego-Garcia decision, right? And they've ruled in her favor twice and been affirmed by the United States Supreme Court. It's a very good moderate court, moderate to a little bit left-leaning. It's a good court for justice. You got people like Harvey Wilkinson on there who just did an amazing stinging rebuke of the Trump administration in a recent ruling. So it's the right court for this. I am sure that Riggs will continue to be a North Carolina Supreme Court justice after the Fourth Circuit finishes their work as an appellate court. They just ruled in her favor recently, and then it'll have to go to the United States Supreme Court about voting. And we know that the Supreme Court and the alt-right of the Supreme Court have a very strange relationship with voting. The Alitos and the Thomases and even the Gorsuch and the Kavanaughs have a very strange view of voting. It goes back to Bush versus Gore, and how they ruled there and how they disenfranchised tens of thousands of Floridians and the nation as a whole in awarding Bush the presidency. I was always taught, and I've been involved with election law cases in court, that you bend over backwards to find the voter's intent and you preserve that vote at all costs. That's not how the Supreme Court sees it. So, we're going to have, as Donald Trump does an assault on election laws, tries to set a one-day only vote election day, not allowing mail-in ballots that were cast before the election to be counted after the election, and different ways to disenfranchise people. We'll have to see now. This will be an important case to take the temperature of the United States Supreme Court. It'll come up on what else, an emergency application, probably over the next month or two, and we'll report on it right here on the Midas Touch Network. While you're here, come on over to the Legal AF YouTube channel. We're going to hit 700,000 subscribers in the next week with your help. Hit the subscribe button. And we got a new Legal AF Substack. Just go to Legal AF, and I'm going to post Judge Meyer's decision there today for all to see. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.